Welcome to Eat Your Backyard. This is a Sunday morning coffee chat live stream. If you like edible landscaping, that kind of thing, food forests, permaculture, how to grow fruit trees or food in your backyard, this is a good place to be. I hope you will subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you like these kinds of videos. That just lets me know that I should continue to make this kind of content. So in this episode, I want to show you 4 different types of food, fruit trees, vegetable maybe you could consider it, that you could easily add to your yard. Now I'm in Florida, but let's just say any of these things you could also grow in a pot quite easily. And I'm going to demonstrate just what the cuttings look like. And so I brought this cool little knife I love so much. But before I go on any further, I also want to say I realized yesterday I videotaped a bunch of shorts and flooded people's streams, so sorry about that. I'm going to try to limit the amount of bunny videos I make. Went a little overboard making videos. It was great lighting, and the bunnies were being very cute in their bunny run, so I made a bunch of shorts and then realized, oh man, I just flooded everybody's stream. So I'll be a little bit more consistent there, try to limit it down to 1 or 2 a day. But let me know what you think. YouTube Shorts is a new thing, so I realized that with new things, you got to be willing to be the fool, to be the hero. So, I think I encountered one of those foolish moments yesterday. I actually was looking on the analytics, and the channel dropped 7 subscribers in one day, which I've never seen. That was clearly because of those videos. So funny. Oops. Well, that's how it goes. I love the YouTube Shorts, though. I mean, I just think it's so fun to make those. All right. So let's get right to it. Let's start off with one that is a home run, easy to grow from cuttings choice. Very edible. Very easy to grow. Like environmentally, you don't need to worry about having an environment that favors it with like good soil or good anything other than you should have enough light and occasionally water it. It's fine with being very low water, and that is the Nepali pad cactus. I have them all over, and I recently realized that, hey Rob G, Shaka, yes sir, I realized that the chickens like to eat them yesterday. Fed them a bunch. Hey Camel, good to see you. Playing in my yard. Yes indeed, that was a fig. That was a Generi fig, which is a weird one. But here's the Nepali pet cactus. Now you notice it doesn't really have thorns, but it has these little dots, which can have little irritating hairs. I picked a bunch of the little ones by hand yesterday. It's just like kind of like a fiberglass deal, but yeah, anything that grows with rhizomes are by far the easiest to grow, says Camel. Yes, indeed, I would totally agree. This is a a pad cactus. They're also columnar type, which is just column shaped. But actually, I don't think I'll cut that one. I'm gonna get this one. You see how easy that came off? But this is an incredibly sharp knife. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. That's really cool. I appreciate it. All right, here we go. My carrots are coming back. Yeah. You still have spines in your thumb from this? From a Nepali cactus? Yikes. Well, yeah, the little hairs. Now I've got them in my finger. But the little hairs. Yeah, they call it thornless, and it is thornless, but it's not hairless. Irritating little hairs, little microscopic things. But, and by the way, look at this croton. And I bought a croton at Lowe's for like 10 bucks, and it had a bunch of different cuttings, and I just separated them out. I actually made a corny video about it, but they're doing quite well. It's another, I added more crotons. I like to have color everywhere. So this is a very easy one to grow. All you need to do basically is put this in any dirt about, you could bury it about halfway, or you could quite frankly just leave it on the ground and it'll just grow that way. Yes, the prickly pears. And yes, this will grow prickly pears as well. But oh, the actual prickly pear, yeah, this is a prickly pear, but it's the thornless type. But the actual prickly pear, like the kind we have here that grow down here on the beach, are brutal. Brutal. And the fruit on that are covered with those like irritating spines like this. This is a much more user-friendly version, and I'm not saying to grow this for the prickly pears. What you grow this for is these pads. These are edible, and they're quite good, actually. They kind of almost have a, yeah, this is a thornless prickly pear, Camel. This is it. I don't have any in my yard right now that have the pears on them, but they grow the little pears. They're not very high quality fruit though on these, but it's the pad on these that are so good. And because they don't have big spines on it, you can process them easily. You basically just get a knife like the one I have here and just scrape them off, you know. And those pads are good to eat. I mean, they're almost like a cucumber, but the same sliminess of maybe okra. You fry it. Rob G fries it. That's cool, man. Well, I guess I gotta fry it now. It's a heck of a good idea. But this is going to be a huge food source that comes in, if you know, from your yard. Requires 0% fertilization and very little attention. Just the more sun, the better. Okay, so that's one. And I'm going to just put these up on my little grow table. This is another thing. To have a grow table that has shade this time of year is so important. I've just let this sea grape grow right over it. This is a natural shade source. Pop in the permaculture principles whenever I can. All right, so that's one. All right, now the second one that I wanted to show you. This is a classic, a champ in this category. And I think it's a must-have. And it's this mulberry. This is an ever-bearing mulberry, which produces rather small fruit, but very, and I think on this one I'm going to need two hands. But what I like to do with the cuttings on these is just to get something that has a little wood on it, maybe at least a year-old growth. And you can see that it almost has little dots on it, and those are where the roots will form. Best time to plant these for really good success I found is right before a rainstorm. That's my secret. Nothing to do with the storm, it just has to do with it kind of gets cool and they're watered at the same time. Whereas if you plant a cutting in Florida during the heat of day, it just fries, you're done. All right, so this one's pretty good. I don't want to chop down any that are growing in places that I want them, so I'm gonna just grab one over there that's growing towards the neighbor. So there it is. Kidding, I just chopped one that was growing into my neighbor's yard. Now that cutting right there is a lot of power in that cutting. You can see it's already, but every part of this is useful. Every single part. The tips are delicious. They taste like lima beans. You can eat it right there. You can make tea out of the leaves. You can just eat the leaves like a salad. You feed the leaves to your animals, the rabbits, the chickens. Everything loves the leaves. In fact, we'll feed it to the chickens. Good permaculture chickens will eat up these leaves every single time. Yeah, all these leaves are just going to die anyway. The cutting will grow, but I want to show you on this one an example of a few that I planted about a week ago. 2 weeks ago, maybe. Yeah, let's go with a week and a half. Math in public. Hey, chickadees. Good morning. You've already had treats. Ooh. Ooh. Look at that. You think they like them? Oh yeah. You see? Christmas came early for these chickens. All right, now notice here's the cutting. Here's another one that I planted not that long ago. Just a tiny little branch, and sprouted. When you see that, you know it's going to go. Now this one, you look and see it's got a little yellow in it. It's a little caloric, meaning it's planted in a place that's pretty much bare sand, and I haven't fertilized. I'll go ahead and drop some rabbit turds right there, and we will be golden. We'll get rid of that yellowness right away. With the cuttings, because now I want to have a lot of this stuff growing around. I'm running out of things to chop and drop, so just planting more. And mulberry is such a prime thing to plant for this purpose, so it'll grow incredibly easy from a cutting. Now I'll show you one that I planted not that long ago, but it exhibits a point I wanted to point out. Well, if it's already a point, you can't point it out. I get okay. There it is. A long cutting. You can take long cuttings. That's my point. Very long, and it still will grow. To me, that's a testament to the ease of growing these things from cuttings. Oops, just walked into it. Yeah. Bee flying to my face. That was exciting. And there's a little spider almost went on there as the second wave of insect facial contact. Some more environmental factors that show you how it grows easily. It's in the shade. Now this is a Persian style, and and that one also just grown from a cutting. So okay, there's two. Very easy. Now the third I wanted to point out, and I think this is a must-have in any Florida backyard. Personally, it's almost like a little clumping bamboo, but it's sugarcane. Now this is a green sugarcane. You can see I let this one grow for a while. It just cracked over because it's very old. It's a very, very old cane. All the new canes are growing up quite nicely, and by the way, the leaves, every part of this is useful too. These leaves, the rabbits love sugarcane leaves. So we try to feed them as much fresh veggies and stuff as we can. Oh look, the mint is flowered. Oh, that's cool. But anyhow, these are just incredibly easy to grow. I'm trying to get hit by this spider web. This, all you have to do is you just cut it here. Then you see this? This is a little node. That's where the shoot is going to grow, and you want to feel to make sure it's a viable bud here, and it will be firm. It'll be hard, firm. If it's soft or it just folds in there, that means it's dead, and you don't want to waste your time. But you can see some will have, like this one's got a nice thing. So I could use each one of these for a thing with the bud pointing up in the soil about an inch below the surface, and they're very easy to grow that way. It does take some amount of time for them to sprout in the pot, I've found, for whatever reason, but in the ground they seem to pop up no problem. I've got two varieties of sugarcane in my yard right now, three, red, yellow, and green, yes. I used to have purple and black, but there is an incredible variety of sugarcane to choose from, so it's a fun hobby to get into, growing different varieties. What's the most cold tolerant sugarcane? Yeah, well, they grow a thing called sorghum in northern areas, which is almost to me like a little miniature sugarcane. But I think your range of growing sugar canes is probably up to about like Alabama region. I know there's a number of sugarcane syrup farms up that way. Well, I'm very interested in visiting. It's like, what's on your bucket list? Sugarcane syrup farms. What? I thought we were going to Disneyland. But anyway, yeah, they grow. It seemed like they grow the red variety commonly up that way. I don't know if it's correlation with that and temperature, but it seems like the red type is popular in the northern areas. That's what my experience has told me, at least. Okay, so we got what? The sugarcane, the mulberry, the cactus, and then the fourth thing that is very easy to grow from cuttings. Drum roll, please. And it's going to be the fig. Now, this is not a good example of the fig. This is one I just planted this year. And it's just getting established. But even in this out of the pot into the ground initial state, you can see the qualities that make it so easy to grow from. Now, there are a few particulars with taking fig cuttings as far as I can tell. And that is that if you can have it the base of one of these sucker shoots, what we call sucker shoots around here, if you can have it buried in the soil, like mound up a little bit of soil and then promote the rooting so it'll root from here, then you can cut it and have some roots to start with. And that's going to make it really easy to grow these successfully from cuttings. I've grown these successfully from cuttings using that method for a long time now. And what you might find is some of the shoots on the bottom of the tree already have roots. That's the ideal. If you have that, you're ready to go right now. You just get a sharp knife like the one I had shown you and remove them. And this one is where I get most of my cuttings from. This is a brown turkey fig tree. This is the time of the year where, you know, it ends up getting rust real bad. The leaves get this fungus on it, and I just let it happen. It returns all the nutrients to the ground, no problem. But we get less fruit production when that happens because, of course, it has less leaves. But there's one of the figs. Eat your backyard. But this is a great time to get a cutting from it. It's just from the base of the tree and plant them. I'll show you an example of one that's been growing for quite some time. Dudes, you think I got mealworms for you? Well, I do. They're right there. For a second. I've got to duck some spider webs here. I haven't been. I've got so much more than getting one in this. All right. This tree, grown from a cutting off that one we just looked at. Now this one, by the way, I'm probably spreading the fungus to it, but since I have it on my hands, this one doesn't suffer from the fungus as much. And this is really a cool thing to notice. And one of my life hacks in growing stuff is do the challenge. Let's see if it's the comparison. See. Celeste. Yeah, I planted a Celeste fig camel this year. The Celeste variety is very good. Yeah, I've never had one. I can't wait to try it. But I did plant a variety of it. You can go take a look at that, actually. But you can see. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the stream's lagging. I'm not sure what's going on. For whatever reason, that fig tree is doing better. Not as important to understand it other than I just put stuff in different parts of my yard, try to put things all over the yard. That way, bugs, water, whatever the thing is in that area, shade, they get different factors and they do differently. This soursop I planted, starting to show signs of suffering. Browning tips. Doesn't look that great, but it's a hothouse creation, right? So you don't expect it to just jump into this salty world and love it right away. But I planted one in the shade, one out in the sun. I can already see that the one out in the sun is getting stressed much more. I don't know if that's the sun. I don't know if it's the irrigation that hits the leaves yet. I don't know if it's fertilizer, but I'll start now experimenting and researching to make sure that I give it its best go. But right away, you never want to see this where the tips are turning black like that. It's stressed. It got smashed by this location, and not as much as that one, so I'm glad now I start to learn about this in my particular set of conditions, which include saltiness on the leaves. To me, that's the biggest factor. Now, the biggest factor to be aware of, at least, because it's going to impact a lot of things. There's a Celeste. That's a Celeste fig. It's doing quite well, and it seems like it's pretty resistant to that mold so far, that leaf rust. The chickens just love the figs, right? They know it's edible too. They love it. So they came over and just when we were free ranging them in the backyard, they came over and just annihilated that Celeste fig tree. Everything's coming back now that we're not free ranging the chickens in the larger yard. Yeah, the grapes get, that's right, Camel, the grapes get the leaf rust real bad from what you've seen. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got that happening too. I'm trying to grow a grape here, you know, and I know there are wild grape varieties that grow really easily, but the fruit's not that big, so, and I don't really want to be covered in grapes, so I didn't pick that type. But this one I tried. It's a white grape, I think, but I thought it was probably didn't have much chance of making it. So I think grapes are very salt sensitive. Yeah, the strawberry tree. Okay, time to, we'll see if we can give them worms. Worms. That's interesting. Look, they won't flee out of the cage. Oops. And we'll do muscadine cuttings too. Oh, if I lower this bag too far down, they're just going to snatch it out of my hand. And you might see I've just thrown grass in here. We just pick the weeds out of the beds and stuff and throw it in there. They eat all that stuff. Yeah, they love the mealworms so much, and then I just throw them around and they get to go find them. Chicken mental health. And the next thing we're going to do to further increase their fun time. Only 1,000? Oh no, 1,250. We've really got one hen. There's this idea of a top hen. We have one hen that's clearly top hen, Ponzi. We let her out and she will follow you around. So cool. Go roost on a thing near you. It's so interesting how that happens. These are little babies still, but we've just given them so much attention. And I like to just give some time so you can hear what it's like to have chickens. I know a lot of people are concerned about how much noise of chickens might make and irritate their neighbors and so on. I was. I'm happy to report the chickens are not noisy. Tree of life. Carambola is doing well. Yeah, let's go take a look at it. Star fruit tree. Okay, so I got through the 4 types of fruit trees. This tree is an example of a different category. Easy to grow from seeds. Very, very easy to grow from seeds. It's doing quite well. Lush. You know, I'm looking at it, it's probably a little caloric. Certainly. That tells me time to hit it with the bunny turds. Yep. Definitely needs some nutrients. All this new growth. Piece of cake. I have got a bumper crop of bunny manure ready to go. So I'm looking for those little purple flowers, and I see them around. That's good. So this thing will be loaded with fruit in no time. I'll show you what little carambola trees are looking like. And this is why I recommend everybody. I mean, if you're at the grocery store and you see a carambola fruit, if you're not living in Florida or whatever, just grab it and grow it in a pot. They grow really easy from seeds. There's a carambola. They're very sensitive. They like a stable environment. They're not going to do well in any kind of freezing or any kind of, even like down in the 40s, they would be done. But just incredibly easy to grow. how we grew these was Jack just threw a handful of seeds into a pot. All the seeds sprouted, and then we separated them. That's it. So now we have all these starfruit trees, and also have a bunch of tamarind trees. Another one we found was elusive to figure out how to grow, but once we figured it out, once we got the Dakota ring, and the Dakota ring was time. It takes time for them to sprout. I didn't realize how long. I mean, some of them it took 2 months before the tamarind sprout, but then I took a bunch of tamarind seeds, just threw them back here. Well, they started to grow. So isn't that interesting? Now those leaves are edible. In fact, in some Thai recipes, they make a sour soup, or they use the leaves to produce it's like almost it's sour in the sense of like a Sour Patch Kid, zesty, like the leaves, especially the young leaves. So one technique is just to sprout a whole bunch of those tamarind seeds and then harvest them as sprouts for their leaves, which I think is a really cool idea. I've actually done that here. See? Lots of them. Some dead. I used this initially to contain the ones that I separated out, those ones you saw over there from, if that makes sense. But you can see these dead sprouts. This is an attempt and a fail. These are Montingia, Jamaican cherry cuttings. Very low success rate with that. Yeah, none of these took. Very low success rate with growing from cuttings. If you're going to grow, but hey, look, here's an example of a success. That's another mulberry I just jammed in there. Looks like that went. I almost forget where I put them because Jack and I will go out right before a rainstorm and start pushing cuttings in the ground all over the place. And next thing you know, I forgot where they were. Some you come back, it's just a stick dead, but most of the mulberries you're going to come back and find one growing. Here's another one of these moringa trees, drumstick tree, growing those all over the place. I'm so happy that I expanded the banana patch over to the south side of the lawn. This area is just so incredibly lush compared to what it was 2 years ago. Just focused on making it it took a period of time to get it to this point, but you can see it's reaching its stride. And it's nothing but edibility. Every single part of it is edible. Oh, and you can see actually up on here, those little petals, those little white petals on the soft tip yucca you can eat. Tastes like almonds. 3 varieties of bananas. Got the Jamaican cherry tree, which is really doing well there. That one I grew from a seed, miraculously enough. Hibiscus in the back. The Celeste fig, the sugar cane, more Musa bananas, pigeon pea, Cavendish bananas, red sugar cane, edible cactus, pigeon pea, yeah, all of it. So, and then Suriname cherry. So the whole corner, the whole wraparound side is all edible component. And you see these pathetic pigeon peas here. This is what happens, I believe, when I over-fertilize them with, and I'm talking about fertilizing them with rabbit manure. Put way too much on there. Yep, and I've been coming in here, and now it's interesting because I've almost got a hay crop. St. Augustine, crabgrass. This is all a yield from my yard. And that's the cool thing about what this permaculture has done for me, is it's refined things that I thought were bad to things that I now think are good, curiously enough. So there you are. Okay, so and by the way, these are loaded with nutrients because they were grown with all that bunny manure. Yeah, the bunnies would love this too. But the chickens are just instant gratification. And they also compost it. So the stuff they don't break down, they know exactly what to do. Oh, Ponzi wants to come out. You want to come out talking? Come on. No, not yet. I want to try to manage it. Sorry. So there we are. Well, thanks again. I appreciate everybody who jumped on the stream. It was a lot of fun. Camel, Rob, and everybody else. Hope you have a great day. Still got a little weekend left. So get out there, get on it. Look forward to potentially attending my live stream Wednesday evening on the Surf All Day A1A channel, where I have a podcast interview that I did with a famous stereotype of surfing, the illusion. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day.